We are here with Ed Latimer. We are Director of Avionics Test for VIAVI Solutions. We have not talked test equipment here much. It's just very rarely somebody come up with something and go, hey, I got something new, talk to me. First of all, tell me what the company does, what your specialties are, what's your target market?
Well, Jim, thank you very much for having us here. So speaking of Phoenix, VIAVI's headquarters is actually in Chandler, Arizona, which is just on the southeast side of Phoenix.
I've gotten a lot of trouble in Chandler.
So from a historical perspective, right, as I'm leading the avionics test group at VIAVI, our group's history comes from JC Air, BF Goodrich, IFR, probably know many of those names, purchased by Aeroflex, short stint under Cobham, and then VIAVI acquired our group. So that's our legacy and our history then leading up to VIAVI.
A hell of a legacy.
Absolutely. Recently, VIAVI has also added to our portfolio Jackson Labs and then Inertial Labs, which cover the position, navigation, and timing space as well.
Okay.
Now, VIAVI as a whole, on the test and measurement side, focuses on test and measurement across many different activities to include cellular, as well as fiber, Ethernet, and radio test, in addition to then our group's focus area on the avionics test side of the house. So that's a little bit of VIAVI in a nutshell.
Okay. Well, here on the floor of AEA, we've got a huge assortment of people doing business in various ways, but the core of everything is the avionics shop. These folks are the backbone of GA and BizAv and, of course, high-end commercial aviation. How do you tackle each of those markets? What are you doing for them?
Well, in the general aviation market, of course, we have things across the navigation communication test space. A big one that we announced a number of years ago at AEA is our AVX 10K that replaced the legacy IFR 4000 and 6000 products for doing those testing. So for the installation, for the certification, for the annual maintenance. Last year at AEA, you may also remember that we introduced the PSD 90-3, an AC and DC capacitive tester for fuel systems, hydraulic systems, and oil systems. And primarily the new thing that was introduced last year was then the ability to detect contaminated probes.
Okay, that's not a small topic.
Also in the past year on our AVX 10K, of course, we've been continuing to add to the roadmap on it with respect to enhancing some of our existing options via software upgrades. So a guided test capability now to the communication and navigation test capabilities, as well as then over-the-air power measurements in the comm test capability.
All right.
Now, new this year, as we announced in the new product introductions, is our GPS Osprey, which is an 18-channel GPS simulator with a built-in antenna coupler. As we know that the FAA and the FCC are starting to crack down on the hangar GPS repeater installations. As that's having issues then bleeding over, hangar doors open, causing issues then to GPS approaches, replicating signals, multipath, and so on, other issues associated with that. So that's really our big announcement this year, which is the Osprey system to help out our existing customer base that are typically operating inside of the hangars, but also may need this kind of a capability if aircraft is stuck in somebody else's hangar and they don't have that ability to drag it out. So connection with a smartphone application, either on Android or iOS. You can easily download GPS almanac data, put in waypoints wherever you want it to be, as this will now simulate that aircraft position, transmit that GPS signal to the avionics, and you can now verify your install, do other troubleshooting. You can also put together dynamic routes using the app and upload that to the simulator and now have your aircraft think that it's flying around on a route changing altitudes. And to support both the single GPS antenna install as well as the dual GPS antenna installs that we see on many aircraft, we have two different configuration options for that.
Outstanding. How is the industry receiving your more recent announcements?
We've had a tremendous amount of interest here at this AEA. Almost everybody that has stopped by the booth had seen the new product introduction and came by to check it out.
Well, I understand the regulatory environment is not making anything easier in that particular realm, so I would imagine a product like that is quite welcome. What is your R&D and most specifically the development process when you decide to tackle a piece of equipment like this? Because the one thing I do know about the test programs involved here is that if we thought the regulatory environment was bad enough for the end user, talk about the folks building the gear that help that end user get certified.
Well, we have for our group a R&D team that's primarily located in Lenexa, Kansas, where our avionics team is,
Okay.
and we also then have
That's a hotbed of activity out there.
additional R&D engineering in Wichita, Kansas, which is where our primary manufacturing is done for our team as well. So it's a lot of gathering requirements from our customers, seeing what the need is, in particular with the latest GPS simulator offering, really trying to basically see how simple we can make it. Because we know that we want this thing to be small, lightweight, easily transportable, but then easy to use, which is why it really drove us towards a mobile application as the primary interface for the control. So it takes a lot of different talent bringing all that together. Part of that, however, was actually the VIAVI's recent acquisition of Jackson Labs, because it was through that acquisition that we then had the much smaller form factor GPS simulator in order to enable this capability. So it was that merging of the companies being able to bring this to light.
It may be good, but it ain't great until it's smaller. Oh,
Exactly.
wow. I would imagine the interface between your company and folks on this floor has to be fascinating. What are the shops telling you right now about their needs and, more important, what they expect from you?
Well, there's a reason we've got a continued roadmap on things like the AVX 10K and, quite frankly, a lot of our products, because the shops always want something that's easy to use, can carry in the field. But there's also the emerging standards, such as the new ADS-B standards with DO-160, that need to get incorporated into the products, because as those new standards come out now, new test capabilities need to go against those. So here at AEA, we're focused primarily on the flight line side of testing, things that are in the hangar out on the ramp, but our group also develops and upgrades bench test equipment as well for the folks that are developing, creating new avionics. So we work with many of the OEMs in addition to the field maintainers as well.
I would imagine, we talked about end users and the regs and certifications that they have to deal with. What kind of regulatory environment affects the folks that actually build the test equipment? To what standards are you developing this equipment, and what does this community and the general aviation, BizAv, and commercial community not know about what you do in that regard?
Well, our facility is ISO 9001 certified. With respect to the other regulatory agencies, of course, we have to follow FCC compliance regulations. Internationally, we have to follow CE, and then in many different countries around the world, then there are additional similar ones to the FCC that we then have to follow for them also. So making sure that we are able to sell our test equipment all around the world means that we have to follow a lot of different standards.
One of the conversations we've been having with everybody that's been coming up here is the ability to find good people. The folks we're trying to hire, the folks that we're trying to train, for lack of a better way to put it. What are you looking for right now in terms of the folks that are staffing your companies? Where do you find them? What do they need that you're seeing lacking?
Well, that's a good question. As with many things these days, things tend to be software defined. So just like with the AVX 10K, very fantastic piece of hardware in order to now realize new capabilities that we've been adding, such as this summer we're coming out with a headset adapter so that you can plug in either your 2-pin or single-pin headset into the test set and now communicate into the cockpit. Hardware is there. We've made a small hardware attachment that goes onto this, but then a lot of the rest of it ends up being software smarts with the various firmware and software upgrades added to the system. So there's a lot more reliance these days on now having software engineering on the long tail end as you continue to add more things to the roadmap.
Interesting. Have you had a chance to look over this new certification program that AEA has introduced for training?
Which one is that, Jim?
The CAET program. Have you had a chance to look over that? What is your opinion of what they've done with that?
Okay, well, I haven't had a chance to look over it quite yet, but
Okay.
I'll take a look after this.
Yeah, no, I just talked with Todd Witter, who's been on the board, and they seem pretty enthusiastic about it. The fact that the industry is finally deciding for itself how it's going to train in the future is both problematic as well as welcome. So we'll see what happens with all that. How can people get more information about VIAVI, and more important, what part of the industry really needs to know more about what you're doing?
Well, definitely folks that are maintaining aircraft, are doing avionics installs, have to do those certifications. Definitely come and check VIAVI out. It's viavisolutions.com. And if you want to go straight to our avionics section, it's viavisolutions.com/avionics.
Alrighty. Well, we appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us. You've been very well prepared, and I sure appreciate that because, well, I'm happy to be acquainted with so much of the aviation world and so many of its different environments. The test area, since I haven't worked as an avionics tech, is a little bit of black magic. And the more I spend time in the forums and the sessions and so forth, the better educated I get. But frankly, you're in the black magic stage with me still, but I hear nothing but good things about you, and we sure appreciate your time. And once again, welcome to Aero-News. I'm glad we were able to work with you this time, and we will be back with you in the near future.
Sounds good. Thanks very much.
Ed, thanks so much for your time, and thank you for your service.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 68th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Phoenix, Arizona, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors: